You know, the quality of an individual should never be based on sex or gender, but if they're a good person, a good athlete, a good developer, a good citizen. And I grew up learning this from this person who started off his life as a man and then eventually became one of the best female coaches in tennis in history, Renee Richards. Now, Renee is an American ophthalmologist and former pro tennis player who competed in the 1970s and became widely known following a male-to-female sex reassignment surgery when she fought to compete as a woman in the 76 U.S. Open. The USTA began requiring genetic screening for female players that year. Richard challenged that policy, and the New York Supreme Court ruled in her favor, a landmark case in transgender rights. Among the first professional athletes to transition, she became a spokesperson for transgender people in sports. After retiring from play, she coached the great Martina Navratilova to 2 Wimbledon titles. Now, born Richard Raskin on August 1934 in New York City, and raised, as she put it, as a nice Jewish boy in Forest Hills, Queens. Her father, David Raskin, was an orthopedic surgeon, and mother was one of the first female psychiatrists in the States, in addition to being a professor at Columbia University. Now, she was also the inspiration for a lot of people of the John Lithgow character, or portrayed by John Lithgow, in the book and movie World According to Garp. Now, Richards attended a horseman school and excelled as a wide receiver for the football team, the pitcher for the baseball team, and on tennis and swim squads. Her baseball skills even led to an invitation to join the New York Yankees, but she decided to focus on tennis. After high school, Richards attended Yale and was captain of the men's tennis team, and was considered by some to be one of the best college tennis players in the country. After graduating from Yale, she went to University of Rochester Medical Center and specialized in ophthalmology, graduating in 1959 and serving a 2-year internship at Lenox Hill Hospital in New York. After her time there, she served 2 years of residency at the Manhattan Eye, Ear and Throat Hospital in New York. She played competitive tennis for a while and was ranked 6th out of the top 20 males over 35, or the Masters category. After internship and residency, she joined the U.S. Navy to continue medical training and played tennis in the Navy. While serving in the Navy, she won both the singles and doubles at the All-Navy Championship with a very effective left-handed serve. During this time, she was ranked as high as 4th in the region. Now, during college, Richards began dressing as a woman, which at the time was considered to be a perversion, with transsexualism classified as a form of insanity. Richards named her female persona Renee, which is French for reborn. Her struggle with gender identity created sexual confusion, depression, and suicidal tendencies. She began seeing Dr. Charles Einfeld, a disciple of Harry Benjamin who specialized in endocrinology, transsexualism, and sexual reassignment. Upon seeing Einfeld, she began getting hormone injections with a long-term hope for a life change. In the mid-60s, she traveled in Europe dressed as a woman, intending to go to North Africa to see Georges Bourreau, a famous gynecological surgeon at the Clinique Pac in Casablanca, Morocco, regarding sex reassignment surgery. However, she decided against it and returned to New York. Richards married model Barbara Mole in June 70, and together they had a son, Nicholas, in 72. They were divorced in 1975. Now, in the early 70s, she resolved to undergo sex reassignment, as referred to surgeon Roberto Sigranto Sr. by Harry Benjamin, successfully transitioning in 75. After surgery, Richards went to Newport Beach, California, and started working as an ophthalmologist in practice with another doctor. Now, in 76, Richards' gender reassignment was outed by local TV anchor Richard Carlson, the father of Tucker Carlson. Yes, Tucker has a father. No comment. Subsequently, the USTA, the WTA, and the United States Open Committee required all female competitors to verify their sex with a bare body test of their chromosomes. Richards applied to play in the U.S. Open in 76 as a woman, but refused to take the tests, and thus was not allowed to compete in the Open, Wimbledon, or the Italian Open in the summer of 76. She then sued the USTA, which runs the U.S. Open, in New York State Court, alleging discrimination by gender in violation of the New York human rights law. She asserted that participating in the tournament would constitute an acceptance of her right to be a woman. Some USTA members felt that others would undergo sex change to enter women's tennis. SI called Richards an extraordinary spectacle and characterized reactions to her as varying from astonishment to suspicion, sympathy, resentment, and more often than not, utter confusion. not in Canada, because we felt she was very brave to even attempt to get into elite tennis at such an advanced age, because usually starting elite tennis is ages 14, 15, 16. And, she was a really good player that we all recognize. Now, the USOC stated there's competitive advantage for a male who was undergoing a sex change surgery as a result of physical training and development as a male. Richards finally agreed to take the bar body tests. The test results were ambiguous. She refused to take it again and was barred from play. Now, on August 16, 1977, Judge Alfred M. Ascioni found in Richards' favor. He ruled this person is now a female. That words have resonated since her acceptance. And that required Richards to pass the bar body test was grossly unfair, discriminatory, and inequitable, and a violation of her rights. He further ruled that the USDA intentionally discriminated against Richards and granted Richards an injunction against the USDA and the USOC, allowing her to play in the U.S. Open. Richards lost to Virginia Wade, the Wimbledon champion, in the first round of singles competition, but made it to the finals in doubles. Now, what was interesting about this, ladies and gentlemen, the women's WTA, Billie Jean King, all the female athletes didn't really support her enough. Billie Jean King got support across the world for taking on Bobby Riggs for the feminist aspect of the sport, but when the shoe was on the other foot, they didn't do enough, and I saw it. And there was a debate in Canada, why is Renee Richards not considered a woman? That was a debate. And by all factor was, with surgery, she was a woman. Now, after moving to California, Richard played in regional competitions for a local club, the John Wayne Tennis Club, under the name Renee Clark. In the summer of 1976, she entered the La Jolla Tennis Tournament Championships, where she crushed the competition, and her unique left-handed serve was recognized by Bob Perry, a tour player from UCLA. Her longtime friend Gene Scott then invited her to play in a pro tennis tournament, the Tennis Week Open in South Orange, New Jersey. The USTA and the WTA then withdrew their sanction for the Tennis Week Open and organized another tournament. 25 to 32 participants withdrew from the Tennis Week Open. This was just the beginning of the issues Richards would encounter in trying to play pro women's tennis, which eventually led her to suing the USTA and winning. Now, you got to understand, ladies and gentlemen, she played professionally from 1977 to 1981. She was well in her 40s at the time, and she retired at age 47. She was ranked as high as 20th overall in February 1979, and her highest ranking at the end of the year was 22nd in 1977. Now, again, she was in her early 40s. Her first pro event as a female was a 1977 U.S. Open. Her greatest successes on court was reaching the doubles final at her first U.S. Open in 1977 with Betty Ann Grubb Stewart. The pair had lost a close match to Martina Navratilova and the underrated Betty Stove, and winning the 35 and over women's singles. Richards was twice in semifinals in mixed doubles with Ilias Nastasi, of all people, at the U.S. Open. In 1979, she defeated Nancy Ritchie for the 35 and over singles title at the Open. Richard posted wins over Hannah Mandlikova, Sylvia Hanukkah, Virginia Ruzicki, and Pam Shriver. She later coached Navratilova to 2 Wimbledon wins. Now, Richards was inducted to the USTA Eastern Tennis Hall of Fame in 2000. On August 2nd, 2013, she was among the first class of inductees into the National Gay and Lesbian Sports Hall of Fame. Now, Richards has since expressed ambivalence about her legacy and came to believe her past as a man provided her with advantages over her competitors, saying, having lived for the past 30 years, I know if I had surgery at the age of 22 and then at 24 went on to tour, no genetic woman in the world would have been able to come close to me. And so I've reconsidered my opinion. I tend to agree. She was that good in her 40s. You can imagine what she was like if she would have came up during the what they call the Rod Laver era. Now, after 4 years of playing tennis, she retired and decided to return to her medical practice, which she moved to Park Avenue in New York. She then became the surgeon director of ophthalmology and head of the eye muscle clinic at the Manhattan Eye, Ear, and Throat Hospital. In addition, she served on the editorial board of the Journal of Pediatric Ophthalmology in Strabismus. She now lives in a small town in northern New York City with her platonic companion assistant, Arlene Larzilere. In 2014, a wooden racket used by her was donated to the National Museum of American History, which is part of the Smithsonian. Now, I noticed for a fact when Renee Richards was one of the leaders of ophthalmology in the 70s and 80s, because when people would do a feature on her, they would talk about her dedication to that. And it came into factor for me, the treatments that I received that saved my eyesight, including injections and different diabetic retinopathy treatments, were designed around her era. So if she played a 1,000 in a factor of saving my eyesight, again, I owe her a lot. She motivated me as a young journalist. I followed her career. I cheered her on because she was a good talent. And I would suspect that Navratilova was a better player through her coaching. And she would rarely say anything. She would be kind of what do you call a cool water in Navratilova's hot sea of second guessing, because Navratilova would second guess herself all the time. Now in '83, she published an autobiography, Second Serve, and in 2007, a second, No Way Renee, the second half of my notorious life, in which she expresses regret over the type of fame that came with her transgenderism. Although she said in 2007 that she did not regret undergoing the sex reassignment process in itself. In 2021, Richards continued her autobiography with Diary 1999, an eye-opening medical memoir. Richards' first autobiography served as the basis for the film Second Serve, Renee, and is a 2011 documentary of Richards directed by Eric Droth. The film was one of the anchor films at the 2011 Tribeca Film Festival, and the documentary premiered on ESPN in October 2011. Now, in 2017, she was interviewed by Kitty Couric near the end of the documentary Gender Revolution. Now, men's singles tournaments, and this is just completely bizarre. Again, she was capable of doing well the U.S., Australia, French, and Wimbledon, no pure results. But at U.S. Championships, she was 0-5, making the second round twice over a 7-year period. Now, in Wimbledon singles, she made it to the first round 77-78, the third round in 79, the second round in 1980, and the first round in 1981. Now, Wimbledon's doubles, she made to the finals in 77, the second round in 78, the third round in 80 and 81. In mixed doubles, she won the U.S. Open, had the most success. Third round in 78, the semifinal in 79, and the first round in 1980. And she's in a very short list of Jewish tennis players throughout the years. There's been some very successful tennis players, but again, they don't come off the tip of the tongue, as we say. But what I find about Renee Richards, respect her as a doctor, respect her for a number of years she's been dedicated to the sport. But the reason I think Martina had a better future than a lot of people give credit for, because she was that type of player. She was dedicated to the pureness of the game which she provided. So that's a short story in the long life of Renee Richards, probably one of the most important transgender athletes of the modern era. If you like what you're doing here, we're a tennis podcast. Let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. And as we say in the North Shore, ladies and gentlemen, you're only good as your last match. And Renee, again, at age 45, was probably better than most 22-year-old female players of her generation. Like I said, a dynamite athlete. Thanks for listening. Bye.